So Riot announced Project K, the League of Legends trading card game, as number one Legends of Runeterra player, you know, the virtual one. I'm gonna react to this and give my takes as a content creator and just a big fan of Runeterra. Despite everything that happened to Runeterra, I'm just gonna be I'm leaning towards positive for this announcement, but I'm gonna talk about all the angles and how I feel about it. So let's react to this video. I'll pause if I have something to say, and then I'll say everything else at the end. And we can just keep this a conversation. Feel free to say what you want in the chat. And we'll talk about it.
Hi everyone, I'm Charan, executive producer on Project K.
Okay, so executive producer, Project K, multi-language PTCG collector, favorite deck, Volibear Ramp. That's a good one in Runeterra too. That's a good choice.
Hey folks, I'm Dave, game director for Project K.
Game director, former executive producer of LOR, MTG designer / pro, favorite deck, Yasuo midrange. Alright, so listen. The entire reason they made a new game is because Yasuo midrange was terrible in Runeterra. So they're trying again. That might be why.
We're excited to be bringing a brand new physical TCG, or trading card game, into the world. And our team has been working hard at getting it ready for launch.
It's our privilege to make a League IP game that we think deeply serves the need of a different kind of audience. Players who want to connect across the table and immerse themselves in the gameplay, setting, and characters that they love. That's us in the dev team too. Project K is not a physical version of the fantastic Legends of Runeterra, but it does inherit some of the rich champion design philosophies of lore. It also benefits from incredible art drawn from all over the Runeterra IP and other League IP games.
Mm-hmm.
Each of the champions has
I have
obviously a thematic that kind of
couple
goes
of things to
along
say
with
there.
them. I'm playing the Victor deck right now, which is really oriented around assembling a lot of very small units and trying to give them power spikes.
I'm playing Volibear. I wouldn't call this a finesse hand. This is just like, how do I go in and just punch everybody in the face? So it's fun.
So I am playing a Yasuo Calm Chaos deck. He's chilling, but also stirring things up a little bit.
I am playing a Jinx, Fury, Chaos, Tempo, Aggro deck. Pretty much just cause as much mayhem as possible.
You have 4 points.
Take it down.
No. Summon
Well, we aimed the game squarely at tryhards like us who want to sweat it out in competitive 1v1s. Starting fresh also let us design it from the ground up to support multiplayer. Whether your jam is team 2v2 battles or
This is kind of huge because when I say multiplayer, I think like 1v1, v1, v1, but 2v2 is actually like, if they can make that work, it's kind of cool.
free-for-alls,
I would like
way
that.
to relax with friends or go all in on alliances, backstabbing, and betrayals, we think we've created the best social TCG out there and something you will really enjoy.
You can play it 1v1 for sure, but I like actually filling the table and having multiple friends be able to play. It's more enjoyable, makes it more dynamic, and it makes it more exciting to go back and play again.
This has such a good entry point for pretty much everything that League touches, but even beyond that, there is the now collectible element. And it has the ability to be so competitive, but also so, hey, I could just bring my deck over to a friend's house and play with them, you know, when we're just hanging out.
We also know that for a TCG to grow and thrive, it needs the community around it to grow and thrive as well. And that means more than just products stocked on shelves. It means having local game stores promoting the game, regular events for friends to get together, and competitions to show who's the best.
Not just the game or the store, but a whole competitive ecosystem.
That's right. We want to have competitive play that reaches from the store level all the way up to national level tournaments and maybe even global events. We will invest in Project K and make it worthwhile for you to invest your time and energy into it too.
We want to get cards into everyone's hands as soon as possible. But we do want to ensure that wherever you live, you'll have the best experience from your day one, including that competitive ecosystem and of course, cards and accessories in your language.
What that means is that we'll be taking a staggered approach to delivering the game to all of our players around the world. We've already found a partner who can handle all of the printing, distribution, and store-level promotions and competitions in China, so that's what we'll be launching first in early 2025. We're working hard on finding more partners around the world and hope to share more details about our global
and maybe
launch
later, when
plans
you've earned it.
in the very near future.
In the meantime, to get the word out, we'll have trial decks to play at the Teamfight Tactics Macau Open later this month. as well as a limited edition Chinese arcane box.
Please?
set for sale.
Well, if you say
Can't
please.
make it to Macau? Don't worry. We'll also be taking pre-orders for the English versions of the Arcane box set on our Riot merch website early next year. Stay tuned for your chance to order one of
Quick
these
sock
limited
reveal to keep
edition
the
sets.
audience engaged.
But I place her here exhausted.
It's
and I-
cats.
Points.
I have little cats on them.
Well done.
Whatever, man. Every time. Every time.
We think Project K is something special, and we hope you do too. Thanks for your time, and we'll see you across the table, hopefully soon, at a game store near you.
Now about those set 2 card designs.
Yeah,
Dave.
all right. We should probably get back to work.
All right.
Okay. Interesting. So, okay, I'm gonna give a quick shout out to Twisted here, who has like some of the cards here. I don't know if Twisted made this, but this is a good thing to look at, so we can kind of see what the cards look like. Okay, so first things first, if you are a Runeterra player, I think you are allowed to be excited about a possible collectible card game that you can play with friends at tournaments, whatever. I don't think we as Runeterra players should like hold grudges against developers getting an exciting opportunity to get something like this off the ground. That's like, yes, if there's anyone they want to be upset at, it's Riot. I think the decisions that Riot has made to hire up some of the business decisions have been abysmal, and honestly, they're what make me the most angry. Runeterra deserve better. So, this is a purely physical TCG. I don't think there is going to be a client, a virtual client. I would highly doubt that ever happens. So, especially with Runeterra now being more of a roguelike, as you know, as sad as it is that PvP is gone, there is almost no overlap, right? Another interesting thing about the art is that they are reusing art from LOR, which at the same time could help Runeterra get their art faster to kind of like speed up the process of them making new cards and maybe streamline that process a little bit more, because we've seen like the Ambessa and Warwick release and they haven't had like their voiceover level ups. Maybe if they have to worry less about like the whole splash art process, maybe they can just streamline the whole thing. That's just kind of about having a higher budget for Runeterra, I guess. That's what I'm trying to say there. It feels really weird that you see like the Jinx art, the Yasuo art, the Victor art, the Volibear art. It feels weird. I especially hate that they're using new names for it. An example was like the Sun Monument is now like Zon Warrens. I think that's my biggest gripe with this. It's like, this is an entire different thing. It's like the lore got just scrapped, erased. That's the one thing that I feel really weird and bad about, and I don't like that at all. The units too, yeah, that feels strange.
Kind of sad, but at least when I come to the stream and see you, I think to myself, at least I'm not an old balding midget capper.
What the hell is wrong with you? Oh my. Okay. Solid Crowd. Thank you for the tier 1. Thank you. Yeah. So some people are saying just sell LOR cards physically, but that just doesn't work, right? The mechanics, they just can't be translated into a physical TCG. I don't think that was ever on the table at all. Also, it was originally only going to be released in China, I think. But the fact that they are now releasing a video like this kind of tells us that they're thinking about, well, releasing it worldwide, obviously, but most of all, it shows that they're very confident in this product and what it could mean. I'm talking about the card specifically here because I'm trying to keep it as positive as possible, because there are some pretty negative things, and that is that these cards, I'm just gonna say it like it is, they look like dog shit. This looks awful. I'm sorry, but if you're gonna reuse art, it already feels kind of cheap. And then you also have like this white border. I hate the way these look. I cannot get excited about opening card packs and then having this for like what, 10 cards or something in a pack. I feel like it's just really, really bad. It's like Uno cards with a skin, man. It's really, really bad. It looks cheap. It looks cheap, and especially the fact that it's reused art. That's like what gets me. The fact they dropped this out of nowhere says a lot. What else have they planned? it's really strange, and this will. I'm gonna say this now, but it'll tie in of some of my future points later. I made like a couple of notes for myself, so I know what I want to talk about. But what's interesting is, and this is important, and I have a big doomer take that I'm gonna save for the end because everybody's just gonna be really sad when I say it. But this switch, or not switch, some of the developers, the people that worked on Runeterra, are now on this team, and that happened in February, January, like let's say 10, 11 months ago, which I find really like strange. Because that, like, how long does that mean they've been working on this? Has this been like in the works for 3 or 4 years, and then they're like, okay, now in 1 year we can just start designing these cards and actually getting a set together? Because like, when did this decision come? Were there people like that already knew that this card game was going to be made, and they decided to like cut people from the LOR team early, or get them in a know, like let them know that they're going to be switching, having a different job in like a couple of months? Slightly it worked before, and then they upscaled it to proper production. Yeah, so I don't know. I find that to be really strange. Anyway, I'll come back to that later. I think one positive thing, like possibly the best thing about this, is that physical TCGs right now are absolutely booming. They are huge. There is an enormous uprise in TCGs. Like with Lorcana, the One Piece TCG, One Piece especially, like I feel like the One Piece is so much bigger than I thought it would be, which is crazy. So the problem with those card games are like Yu-Gi-Oh! I think Lorcana has like a pretty good entry, a barrier for entry. It's like easy to get into, but there's not that many events. With One Piece, I feel like it's the opposite, for example. So because Riot Games already has like so much experience on esports and prize pool stuff and whatnot, which they are known to be extremely good at, I actually have like pretty high hopes that they'll be able to pull this off when it comes to like logistics and stuff, like having those events, having those card packs available everywhere, the pricing. I think that's all like not something we ever have to worry about when it comes to this. So if they get it off the ground successfully, I think it's going to go absolutely, like, it's going to skyrocket. It's like I can never say, oh, this will rival Pokemon, because let's be honest, nobody can really do that. It might not even be able to rival Disney, like, at all. But this is a really, really big IP. But if they look like this exactly, and if there is no real way for collectors to get excited, I don't see it happening. These cards just look awful. Like, I'm sorry. I'll say this 10 more times, but I hate the way these look. Like, honestly. Somebody should start doing redesigns. They're not even sparkly. I have to imagine that this is like early concepts or something, because it just, like, I get the fact that they're reusing art. Like, sure, right? That makes some sense. But that already makes your cards feel cheaper, and then also having a board like this is very strange. They hired a few old LOR. Yeah, they hired, I mean, Dave Gusking was the executive producer for Runeterra. You saw him in the video. I know that Plink is on board for this, and Plink is also a legend. Like, I'm very happy for them that they, that these people got, like, a way to continue what they're doing, because they are very good at it. But it's also, like, yeah, I don't know. I would have liked them to still be on LOR, I guess. Main question, I actually don't understand why LOR players are upset. The context, in my opinion, I think this could be a way to get some people into LOR and attract more people to the game. It's not like this is LOR hard copy cards that you and other content creators got. While this physical TCG doesn't seem the best quality, I think LOR as a game is doing well and will be in a better position when people see these cards and realize LOR has much cooler and better art, which is much easier and faster monthly up. So here's the thing. Here's the main takeaway from that, right? Yes, what happened to LOR is tragic. Not having PvP sucks. I would have liked PvP to still be around. Matter of fact, I recorded a really cool collab for PvP today that will be on YouTube in a couple of days. It was an absolute banger. I know you guys are going to love it. PvP still exists. There is just no support for it. That being said, if there is ever going to be any overlap between these games, it is basically just the fact that they're both card games and they use some of the same cards. Because Runeterra right now is essentially a roguelike deck builder. So this is a way for them, I guess, to enter that physical card game market, and I'm not unhappy about that. I also think that, yes, for LOR players, there is no reason to be upset right now. That being said, I have never actually seen multiplayer card games be the main mode of playing or working competitively. It seems to be there. Like they said, you can play 1v1, you can play 2v2, you can play free-for-all, that's all possible. But if they don't focus on 1v1 primarily, I already don't see this working. Because here's the thing, if you're playing multiplayer, the entire concept of deck building is basically out the window because now you have to deal with multiple people, and it's even less likely that you get to do like your late game consistent thing that your deck does. Or if you're a YouTuber like me, it becomes even harder to actually like build a deck and have like a point. Like let's say I'm playing Glorious Evolution with Victor and with Mirror Mage, and that's my entire point. I activate Glorious Evolution, I play Mirror Mage, and now every single card I play is doubled. That will never happen in a multiplayer game. Bros, never watched an MTG Commander game? I guess I haven't, but I think in general, what I'm saying is not untrue. It's just like, there is way too much disruption if you have multiple players. You can never do that dream consistent thing that your deck is. And there is appeal to that. There is appeal to just like being on the spot, just like having a deck that can work in different scenarios. But yeah, I don't know. That's how I feel about multiplayer. I like that it's possible, but if that is their main focus, I don't see this ever working. Because that's not just for a deck builder, that's also for competitive. And I think this is like, if I'm making this an argument, it's more important to say that about competitive, because competitive decks have like this thing that gives their deck like consistency in the early game, consistency in the mid game, where they can like interact with their opponent and stay in the game. And then late game is usually just like a set of sequences of cards that are getting you to a point where you win the game. And that is hard to do in multiplayer. You don't have that at all, really. Like in 2v2, maybe. In free-for-all, almost absolutely not. It sounds ridiculous given LOR exists, but if this doesn't have a digital version to play, it will be dead on release. That is untrue. That is not at all the case, because Lorcana exists. I know that, you know, at least like 80% of people that collect and play Pokemon probably don't really use their client for anything other than like getting a feel for the cards. That is not a thing. That won't happen. One other big thing, and this is a big one, and I'm going to ask you, Chad. I'm going to ask people on YouTube if this makes it to YouTube. I'm going to ask you, do you have faith in a company making a card game after they have completely dropped and messed up their previous one? After what they did to Runeterra. Like that is like such a horrible way to start a new card game. And honestly, again, I wish the devs that work on this all the best. Like, I know they deserve it. There is a big difference between Riot and the people that work on these games. Riot is like, I mean, I say the bad guy, but they're really just making like decisions that are smart for their business. But the developers, don't give them any hate, please, like at all. They are fantastic people. I know the people on the Runeterra team quite well, and I know they're just like they're giving the Runeterra their heart and their soul. And I can only imagine that it is the exact same case with this new League of Legends card game. The decisions Riot Games makes are questionable and honestly upset me. So again, that's why I'm saying the company that has made these card games. You can't really compare digital and physical. I mean, there is some overlap in that sense. Sure, they're not entirely the same. I also think that monetizing a physical card game is a lot easier because people love gambling and they love buying packs. Like buying packs, it's a gacha thing. Like that's really all it is. And Runeterra didn't have that, which really sucks. I think that is part of Runeterra's failure. But here's the thing, right? I'm gonna take Lorcana as an example again. I actually play Lorcana. Me and my girlfriend are like heavily invested in Lorcana. We love the game. We play it against each other all the time. We want to go to events and stuff. But I remember like 3 years ago or something, there was an announcement which was like, "Hey, Disney is making a card game," and I was like, "Holy shit! You know, that's so cool. That's Disney. This has to do well because it is Disney. Like everybody knows and loves these franchises." Can you imagine playing a Moana deck? Can you imagine playing a Mickey Mouse deck? That's awesome. And that would be the same thing for a card game like this. But that's not really there because Runeterra existed and people know the history of Runeterra at this point, right? That's my big issue here. If this announcement happened and there was no Runeterra, I'd be like, oh my god, I get to play a Victor deck. I get to play a Pike deck. That's so sick. And we had that. We had that moment. We had spoiler season being like, oh my god, my favorite champion is finally coming to the game. And it was wonderful. Like, Runeterra is like the best card game I have ever played. But just because things have gone down the way they have gone down, I have a harder time getting excited about this. If Runeterra still had PvP and PvE and that announcement earlier this year never happened, I would lose my mind over this. I would be like, okay, I'm dropping everything I am doing right now, every hobby I have, and I'm going to save up money so I could just whale on
Riot
this.
saw the money Lorcana and One Piece have made, and they're trying to force making it work like Facebook forcing streaming.
I like that point, and that's something I will talk about later as well. Yes. I fear like that might be kind of like the core of the issue in a way. So this card game seems to be primarily targeting the Chinese market, where because Legends of Runeterra was never released in China, this recycled, let's just call it recycled art from Runeterra is more likely to be perceived there as like new and appealing. Like for us, it's like, okay, this is art we've seen before, but the Chinese market has never seen this. Well, I say never, but it's likely they've never seen this Yasuo art in action or this Victor art. So that kind of does allow Riot to like, you know, reduce their production costs by not having to order more art while just potentially still getting like that large market share in China because of it, which is really where all of this seems to be coming from. So yeah, I don't know. That feels really bad for us, but they were originally only going to release this in China. And then they were like, hey, maybe we can do worldwide. And again, because we got a video like that, it seems they are very, very, very confident in that this product is going to succeed. Okay, I saved this for last, but now that Dr. Hanky Pie, thank you for the subscription, by the way, has made that comment, I need you all to like strap in, sit down, because this is my ultimate doomer take. It is not based on really any information. It is just speculation. This is just like me being completely cynical and just being like, oh man, what if that's the case, right?
Jinx and Victor splash arts already.
Yeah, strange, isn't it? Okay, so my most doomer take is that someone at Riot came up with this idea where they were like, oh my god, guys, let's make a card game for League of Legends because Lorcana's doing it, One Piece is doing it. We can do that too. We can print money. So they were like, okay, you know, let's see what we can do. And then they start looking at these cards, they start designing it, and they're like, hey, you know what? This is actually pretty good. And then that moment happened early this year. And what the higher ups at Riot said is, okay, but we already have a card game that isn't doing so well. So let's turn Runeterra into a roguelike deck builder. Let's shut down PvP so that it doesn't compete with this. That is my ultimate doomer take. They shut down Runeterra so that it won't be competing with this. And that is like, that hurts. And I want to believe that that's not the case. I don't think that is really the case. You know, it is hard to say, but what if, right? What if they really are as bad as we think they are? It seems unlikely. It does seem unlikely, but it doesn't seem impossible, right? We know Riot. Go as Johnny Riot himself. Nah, I mean, again, I'm just saying, it's just speculation. This is me being an ultimate doomer. That's all it is. It's not based on anything. All right, Necrid says, oops. In my opinion, the cheap look of the cards 100% goes to the white border. It looked like someone just printed something on a piece of paper they found at home. It made the border... I made the border dark gray, and now it's a totally different feel. Yeah, this is a lot better. So, I still think it's ugly. I actually think that Lorcana cards are beautiful. Let me see if I can show them quickly. Yeah, like this. I think this is gorgeous, dude. I think these are some of the best looking cards on the market. I think these look way better than Pokemon cards, for example. It's like the kind of like the different shades of purple, the attack and health here, and the mana there. This is gorgeous. This looks so good. Pokemon cards do look good, but I think these look better. I actually think that the full art for Pokemon look better than the Lorcana full art. Yeah, agreed. I agree with Necrid. Like, this black board already makes everything a lot better. But I even then, I hope they do more with like these color. I think like the red transitioning into orange is not really great either. Could you make a video about Lorcana? I probably will at some point when I start playing it more. I'm really invested in Lorcana. Quite like the game. So that is me on the card game. I have to say again that ultimately I am positive that ultimate doomer take that I just gave, that is just, yeah, that's all it is. That's me being a doomer. I don't think any of that is true. I honestly, like, the devs that work on the new game, I wish them all the best. I hope it succeeds. I hope it's everything we could have dreamed of and more. But it is bittersweet because it just feels weird seeing this Runeterra art on different cards that are made by the same company, as well as the fact that we had the news where the team had to be downsized earlier this year. That's all I can really say about it. It does feel like a betrayal. It does feel like that. It's not, though. It's not. You are entirely allowed as a Runeterra player to be excited about this game because ultimately this has nothing to do with Runeterra. This is not the Runeterra team saying, hey, what if we could do this again but better? This is Riot wanting more money. Again, Riot does make good games. And while they sometimes have, some questionable ethics and whatnot, they are still a business. So when Runeterra isn't making them any money, the decision completely makes sense. I blame the people that were in charge of the monetization of Runeterra, whoever that may be, because they really, really, really screwed up. But this will print money. If this takes off, it will absolutely print money. But there is also a big chance that if you're trying to compete with other card games like One Piece, which is doing really well, which also like recently released Lorcana, Pokemon Magic, if you're trying to compete with that, if you want a shot at the throne, you better take a powerful ass. You better have a powerful ass because that throne, it's hard to sit on. And I don't think anyone is taking that throne, especially not if the cards look like this. That's all I'm going to say. I choose to be excited. I choose to be excited about buying a pack, sitting down with friends and playing a card game of my favorite universe. I've done it before. And I hope that this is different enough and that they can set it apart enough that Runeterra doesn't suffer under it. If anything, there is a good chance that Runeterra actually benefits from this, which we have to keep in mind. But I don't blame people for it feeling like a betrayal or it feeling bittersweet, because it is, of course. In a perfect world, earlier this year, instead of giving a budget to kickstart this game, what if they gave that money to Runeterra to try again, right? Because obviously the old model wasn't working. What if they tried again with a different model with that budget? Of course. I feel that way as well. But we can't change what's been done. All we can hope for is that, this does well enough and helps Runeterra along the way.